President Trump held one of his weirdest rallies yet as he tries to strip away the constitutional rights of immigrants. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Trump last night made another stop on his Orange Collar comedy tour, where he held a spectacularly unhinged rally in South Carolina. Now, these rallies are very much like public therapy sessions for Trump, but as things get worse for Trump politically and legally, these speeches seem to get weirder. And last night was no exception because he was all over the place.
The Olympics would have been a massive failure, and it turned out to be a massive success. People did not want to be nuked in a stadium. I said, listen, you got rich guys, for whatever reason, they love rockets. And by the way, I have these stupid teleprompters. You don't mind that I haven't used them all night, do you? The Apprentice. Arnold Schwarzenegger, big movie star, took my place. It bombed in about 2 shows. It was over. Mosquitoes lost many, many lives. They said she got a facelift. No. If it's not your hair, don't run for office, folks. We're not looking up in the air. Any rockets up there? Any rockets? You know, they call them the elites, right? The elites. You know what you are? You're the super elites. I'm changing titles. We are the super elite.
He's so dumb, he doesn't even understand that elites was supposed to be an insult. They call Democrats out-of-touch intellectuals. Well, I say we're further out of touch super intellectuals. Seriously, think about all those random topics he just rambled on about at an official campaign rally. Trump isn't the president. He's more like one of those algorithms that suggests other articles you might want to read. If you liked Build the Wall, you might also like the Olympics, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Rich Guys Love Rockets. In fact, on the topic of rockets, can't believe I'm saying that, but on the topic of rockets, Trump once again mumbled a few incoherent words about his proposal to create a 6th branch of the military called the Space Force. But this rant was somehow even harder to follow than previous editions.
By the way, NASA is now open for business. You got all these guys sending rockets all over the place. We'll get the credit. I said, lease them the land, charge them a lot, but let's do it that way. That's a lot better. We're like a landlord. You have all these rich guys. I don't know what it is. They love rockets. I said, this is great, because, you know, you can't send rockets up like down the street, right? You can't take the local plot, the local Walmart, the local store, and send a rocket. We're going to win. Remember, I said we're going to win at trade. We're going to win in space.
The guy standing next to him like, yeah, we're going to win at space. We're going to win in space, and we're going to get to board the spaceship first because we have super elite status. But of course, Trump cannot make it through one rally without mentioning the 2016 election. Now, there was a period of time where it seemed like his obsession was maybe waning a little bit. But last night, it was like the good old days. All you had to do was wind him up and watch him go.
You know, we won the state of South Carolina by a lot. We had to run the whole East Coast, and we got South Carolina, and we got North Carolina, we got Pennsylvania, and we got Florida. Donald Trump has won the state of Florida. Right? They said North Carolina is our firewall. South Carolina, we have no chance, but North Carolina. And so we won South Carolina. Thank you very much.
Oh, how many times are you going to tell this story? For Trump, Grandpa, I heard this story. For Trump, talking about the election is how he soothes his ego, and yesterday he rambled on about it for a very long time, at one point even acknowledging that he was bragging about himself because no one else would do it for him.
To win Wisconsin, which hasn't been won in many years, like 1972, I think. That's a long time. To win Michigan, which hasn't been won in a long time. You know, it's very interesting. I just took this out. Sometimes you have to toot your own horn because nobody else is going to do it. Certainly, they're not going to do it.
Oh, you just figured that out? You've been putting your name on buildings for 40 years, and you just decided it's time to toot your own horn? Also, you don't toot You're constantly blowing your horn. Your mouth is like a vuvuzela at the World Cup. In fact, your rallies would make exactly the same amount of sense if they sounded like this. But Trump's rambling about the election somehow got weirder because he insisted that a lot of Hollywood celebrities voted for him and decided to call out Twin Peaks creator David Lynch.
Here's a story that just came out. David Lynch, you know, the great filmmaker. David Lynch, he puts down headline, Trump could go down. This is a Hollywood guy. The reason I do this is, you know, you don't hear this. And plenty of them voted for me. Plenty of them voted for me. David Lynch could go down as one of the greatest presidents in history.
I mean, it's weird, but I guess it would make sense if David Lynch liked Donald Trump. Donald Trump is like the president from a dream sequence in an episode of Twin Peaks.
Heroes, my name is Sharon it not the winter shouts it. Well, you see. You built up your was half my so much as you like, look, Kelly.
Trump, of course, also uses these rallies to rail against his many perceived enemies, and one of those is South Carolina Congressman Mark Sanford, a Republican who has sometimes been critical of Trump. Now, you might remember that back in 2009, Sanford, as governor, famously told his wife he was hiking on the Appalachian Trail when, in fact, he was having an affair. And Trump, who always remembers your lowest moment, brought it up last night, although he couldn't remember the correct name for the Appalachian Trail.
Never liked him too much. I wasn't a big fan. The Tallahassee Trail must be a beautiful place. Unfortunately, he didn't go there.
The Tallahassee Trail? That sounds like the name of a strip club next to the Tallahassee Airport. Welcome to buffet night at the Tallahassee Trail. Shrimp is all you can eat, and it is room temperature. Trump, of course, also remains obsessed with the border and keeps lying about his promise to build a wall there. In March, Congress allotted some money for border security, but that money can be used only to repair and build previously approved fencing. But when his supporters broke out into yet another chant to build that wall, Trump continued to falsely insist that the wall was already being built.
If you don't have borders, you don't have a country. You don't have a country. Well, it's happening. It's not build that wall anymore. It's continue building that wall.
Continue building that wall. Not only is that wrong, it's a much worse chant. Although I guess it's better than continue building and repairing that previously approved fencing. Trump also continues to use racist, dehumanizing language to talk about immigrants, and now he's calling for stripping them of their constitutionally protected due process rights and deporting them without being able to make their case in front of a judge.
We want very tight, very strict borders, and they came to me 3 days ago. Sir, would like you to sign this order. What is the order? We need 5,000 judges on the border. I said, judges? What other country has judges? I said, where are you going to find 5,000 people to be judges? How many do we have now? I don't know the number. They don't even know the number, even though they're in charge, okay?
No, dude, you're in charge. That's the deal. That's like if your pilot got on the PA and said, okay, folks, I asked the tower what airport we're going to, and they said they don't know, and I certainly don't either. So sit back and relax, and a special welcome aboard to all our super elite members. Also, can we go back to this for just a second?
We need 5,000 judges on the border. I said, judges? What other country has judges?
What other country has judges? Most other countries. In the Netherlands, they even have judges at a special court in The Hague, and who knows, maybe you'll get to meet them one day. You don't know, but you might. But Trump hasn't always felt so cavalier about the due process protections provided by the Constitution. He's trying to strip them away from immigrants now, but when his own staffers were being investigated as part of the Russia investigation, he felt very differently about the importance of due process.
People's lives are being shattered and destroyed by a mere allegation. Some are true and some are false. Some are old and some are new. There is no recovery for someone falsely accused. Life and career are gone. Is there no such thing any longer as due process?
So Trump wants to strip away the constitutional rights of immigrants, but when it's his own aides being investigated, he suddenly sounds like a guy being dragged away from the buffet for trying to put shrimp in his pockets. How dare you? There's no such thing any longer as due process. I'm never coming back to the Tallahassee Trail. Trump and the GOP only care about seizing political power and using it to restrict the rights of marginalized people. Just take Trump's Muslim ban, which was upheld by the Supreme Court today in a 5-4 ruling after Republicans installed Justice Neil Gorsuch in a seat that should have been filled by President Obama. The various versions of the ban were so sloppy and ill-conceived that even Trump officials, like former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer, couldn't keep their story straight on whether or not it was a ban.
I want to go back to the issue of this travel ban.
Well, first of all, it's not a travel ban. It's a 90-day ban. I think 1 million people have now come into this country. That's not a ban.
The ban deals with 7 countries.
It can't be a ban if you're letting 1 million people in. It is extreme
The president
vetting.
himself called it a ban.
I understand.
Is he confused or are you confused?
No, I'm not confused.
Yeah, you are. Sean Spicer always answered questions like a dude passed out in the bushes after a concert in Central Park. Sir, is that a vape in your hand? Yeah, it's a vape. No, I mean, it's an inhaler for weed. Trump and the GOP are trying to destroy some of the most cherished legal protections at the heart of our constitutional system. They don't care about immigrants or working people. They want a system that only works for one group of people, and that's
The super elite.
This has been A Closer Look.